morning, and thank you so much for tuning in. This is Smart 24 TV, and my name is Anthony Sebali. Of course, it's another edition of Financial Markets. Remember, the show is brought to you by Altex East Africa, your number one platform for trading on treasury bonds in East Africa. Now, when you look at Altex East Africa, they're bringing you the latest treasury bonds in East Africa by simply getting to your phone and dialing *292#. Now, they are making the markets, first of all, more accessible and easier to maneuver, especially for people who have mobile money. Mobile money is one of those technologies that has actually been able to reach out to a wider base in Uganda, in Kenya, and Tanzania. So with Altex East Africa, we say, how can we bridge the gap between the investors and the stock exchanges and the central banks? And the only way to do it was through mobile money, and that was through the integration of mobile money transactions in the treasury bonds market. Now, all you need to do to experience the magic at Altex is to dial *292#, and following the prompts, you can register. You can even learn more about the products that they do have at Altex East Africa. Remember, Altex East Africa, we are saying you can do something absolutely new. And of course, it's another day on the Uganda Securities Exchange and Nairobi Securities Exchange, and I'm here to take you through the action that went down on Tuesday. That was the 28th of March, as we of course experience more and more financial results for 2022 from the different counters on the exchange. Now, starting off with Uganda, on the Uganda Securities Exchange, it was quite a wonderful day of trading on the exchange. I have to say, the vibrancy this time around is unprecedented this year, and the enthusiasm for investors has gone up as the appetite for stocks like Umeme is, of course, increasing. Now, in aggregate, we had 3 participating bodies or equities in trading, and the day ended with 5 gainers and at least just 1 loser. Now, very interestingly, Umeme came out as the top gainer and the top mover of the market. This means, of course, they gained the biggest the biggest value in share price in terms of percentage, at least accruing over 24.35% in a single day. That was on Tuesday, and this was from 300 shillings to 324.35 Ugandan shillings. It was actually 24.35 shillings and 8.12% share price appreciation. Of course, this gain comes at a time we do expect it. On Monday, Umeme unleashed that they will be issuing a dividend of over 60 shillings, and if I'm not mistaken, 64 shillings 0.9. And of course, yesterday we looked at the audited financial results for the year 2022 of Umeme, and we realized, of course, the company slightly made losses, the profit decreased, but the dividend increased, and that was the most interesting part. And definitely that's where investors are interested at the moment. Now, shareholder equity increased 13.1% at Umeme from 893 billion Ugandan shillings in 2021 to over 1.01 trillion in 2022. And that was when you look at the outstanding interest-bearing term, when you look at the debt, it reduced significantly to over 176.6 billion in 2022 from 336.6 billion in 2021. This is attributed to debt repayments to over 180 billion shillings this year. Last year, during the year 2021 as well, with over 171 billion paid. Now, the company also remained compliant with all its loan covenants. Now, the most interesting part was the fact that the board of directors actually suggested or recommended a final dividend of 63, you will excuse me that, not 64, 63.9 shillings. This is up from 54.1 shillings, which was registered last year. Now, this is almost extra 10 shillings added to Umeme there on the Uganda Securities Exchange. And that, of course, is where the deal ease for investors. Definitely, this could be one of the reasons, actually the only reason probably investors have got to appreciate the company's stock more. And when we look at the exchange, we had at least over 3,091,975 shares that were traded on the exchange. Now, at the moment, Umeme currently trades at 324.35 Ugandan shillings per share, which is the highest price the company has traded on in the last couple of years. And we can have a look at that graph there and have a see on what it looks like for Umeme's stock currently. Now, this so far, when we look back maybe 5 years ago, 2020, in 2019, the company's stock hasn't traded this high. We can only remember in 2018, we see on the graph where they reached a peak of 350 shillings, and much further back in 2017, they were up to about 425, 450 shillings. And then in 2017, they were at exactly almost 500 shillings. That shows you how much the stock has actually tried to regain its value since a listing of the company in 2012. Now, Umeme will be exiting Uganda in 2025, and they will be, of course, ending their concession with government, which they signed in 2004 to distribute and supply electricity in Uganda. Currently, their market capitalization is also rising at a tune of 527 billion currently, and 2.7% is what they represent as equity on the Uganda Securities Exchange. When you look at the company's performance, every figure is in green. In 1 week, the company's price has appreciated 8.12%. Likewise, in 4 weeks, the same figure. And in 3 months, over 34.6%. In 6 months, over 62.2%. In 1 year, the year on year, if you just count from last year to today, the company's price has appreciated 80.2%, and in year-to-date performance, 18%. Literally what this means is that if you had 100 million invested in Umeme last year, right now, your stock is worth 180 million. Which business in Uganda can give you that? And that's exactly why I've always advised you to invest and be patient, because anytime, anywhere, the stock could rise. And what really matters is the fact that you hold on to your stock and give it time to grow. But of course, this comes with prudent investments as well. You must make investments where you know this company will give you value, and you must be sure that this company is going to go ahead and actually do what I expect. Now, Umeme is still currently, when you look at the tradings on the Uganda Securities Exchange in the past 3 months, it is the third most traded on stock in the past 3 months, with a total of over 18.1 million shares valued at 5.39 billion. However, they have the biggest market cap, rather the turnover of 5.19 billion currently. Stanbic Bank is leading, of course, in terms of number of shares, but slightly behind in the turnover, of course, because of the price disparities there between Umeme and Stanbic stock. On average, they traded at least 287,744 shares every trading session, and that's the trading from the Umeme stock currently, which is very, very interesting to report right now. Now, the gainers also had Equity Group holdings on the list after gaining at least 1.98% of value on the exchange. Equity Group Holdings currently trades at 1,108.48 Ugandan shillings after yesterday's gain of 21.1 shillings on the market, which seemed to be one of their best tradings ever. However, of course, they didn't trade on the exchange. However, their price appreciated. Currently, the stock counts a price of 1,108.48 Ugandan shillings per share on the Uganda Securities Exchange. Now, Equity Group Holdings maintains its #1 position in terms of the most valuable companies, and currently holds a stock of close at least up to 4.1 trillion Ugandan shillings currently on the Uganda Securities Exchange. Now, interestingly, yesterday as well, Equity Group Holdings was able to release their fiscal year 2022 audited financial results. And yes, we are going to give you some of the highlights and especially the dividend that they will be issuing. Now, Equity Group Holdings is one of the most profitable banks in East Africa, with the recent opening, of course, of branches in several parts of East Africa and DRC as well. Now, when you look at the audited reports this year, according to the report here, the bank had at least a net interest income of over 49 billion. This is 49 billion. Yes, 49 billion. I'm trying to just scan through the figures here on the very squeezed report here. The net interest income was 49.4 billion Ugandan shillings at the moment. And when you look at, but that is at 35, that is as per 2021 rather. And this year, their net interest income, let's have a look at the net interest income for the bank this year, 58.4 billion. That definitely means that their net interest income has gone up, and that's of course the good news we want to hear. Now let's look at the proposed dividend. The board of directors has recommended a dividend of Kenyan shillings 4.0 currently. So that's where we're standing. Excuse me. That's where we're standing at the dividend issuance of the proposed dividend on Equity Group Holdings. Now, currently for each ordinary share, they will be a paid up share capital for the company for the fiscal year 2022 with a dividend of 4.0 Kenyan shillings. And I think this was not Ugandan shillings. You please, I ask for your pardon. It's actually 49.4 billion Kenyan shillings last year and 58.4 billion Kenyan shillings this year. That's their net interest income as at the close of December 31st, 2022. And my friend, moving ahead, on the Uganda Securities Exchange, another top dog on the markets was actually the Jubilee Holdings stock, which appreciated at least 1.18%, and the East African Breweries Limited, who appreciated 0.44%. The only equity that lost some value, some bit of value, was Centum Investments, which lost at least 2.89%. Umeme recorded the biggest shares, that is 3.09 million, and followed by Stanbic Bank at 23,500 and MTN Uganda at 13,587. Regarding the performance of the indices, the benchmark index, the USE All Share Index, remember this gives you the aggregate performance of all the listings on the Uganda Securities Exchange, at least gained 5.58 points in the 0.5%. Thank God for the Umeme stock price appreciation. This was up over 1,113 points, representing a 1-week gain currently of 2.06% and a 4-week loss of 8.17%. Now, there's been an overall year-to-date loss of at least 8.21%, and currently that is the status of the All Share Index. The other index that did actually perform well was the USE Local Index, which appreciated by 0.58% to 266.46 points. And that's, my friend, what we had from the Uganda Securities Exchange. However, the data showed improvements of 353% in the volumes. Of course, the movement of Umeme influencing that, and over 472% improvement in the turnover, comparing the Tuesday trading to the Monday trading. The current market capitalization of the exchange is 19.5 trillion Ugandan shillings. Moving ahead, my friend, to Nairobi. In Nairobi Securities Exchange, we had also a wonderful day. At the end of the day's trading, we had at least over 15,000 15,264,900 shares traded, with 49 listings participating and 116% improvement in the volume. Now, the gainers were 22 and the 18 losers on the market, with Jubilee Holding stock leading the gainers at an 8.83%. Share prices also closed at 163.25 for the insurance company. Now, Diamond Trust Bank also appreciated 7.14%, and NCBA Group over 5.87%, whereas the Sacinity and Coffee added at least 5.47% on their stock price. On the losing side, Sanlam Kenya came out last with an end-of-day price depreciation of over 8.89%, and that was closing at 8.2 Kenyan shillings per share, whereas Car and General lost 7.7% and Total Kenya 6.25% and Uchumi Supermarket 4.76%. Safaricom continued to rally the Nairobi market with a 5.56 million traded, 5.64 million shares traded on the market, and Equity Group Holdings 4.36 million came in the second place, and Kenya Power and Lighting Company over 2.25 million shares, and KCB over 491,300 shares. Let's have a look at Safaricom and see how far they have gone with their struggle in the pricing. Well, the pricing is still not that good. On Tuesday, the company's stock went down with the price of over 18.50 closing Kenyan shillings. That was a loss of 0.35 Kenyan shillings on the market on Tuesday, and this was a 1.86% loss. Currently, we saw at least 5.64 million shares in 336 deals. That means a gross turnover of over 104 million shares was recorded. Safaricom still struggles to get out of the mire that is still currently struggling in terms of the pricing, which has lost a lot of value in the recent few days. It's however still the number one most traded on stock on the Nairobi Stock Exchange in the past 3 months, with a huge volume of just 621 million shares that was traded yesterday, rather in the past 3 months. And when you look at the NSE indices, the benchmark index lost 0.27 points down to 111 points, whereas the NSE 25 and NSE 20 appreciated both by 0.5% and 0.78% respectively. And that's it, my friend, from the Nairobi Securities Exchange. Now, moving ahead across the Atlantic all the way to Wall Street in New York, the US stocks were mostly quiet, but it's slightly lower on Tuesday, while the bond yields continue to extend gains as investors monitor the latest developments in the banking sector after the sale of Silicon Valley Bank. The Standards & Poor's, or the S&P 500, ticked down by 0.1%, whereas the Dow Jones Industrial Average was little changed, and contracts on the technology-heavy Nasdaq Composite edged lower by 2.0%. The bond yields moved higher, with the yield on the benchmark 10-year Treasury note moving up about 3.56% on Tuesday morning. WTI crude oil rose more than 5% at the start of the week, up to slightly lower, and it was slightly lower on Tuesday, ticking down to around $72 a barrel. Stocks ended Monday with very mixed reactions after North Carolina Best First Citizens Bank bought Silicon Valley Bank, and communication services, tech, and real estate were the only sector to finish the day lower, and the former two sectors also dragged the Nasdaq, resulting in the tech-heavy index to fall over 0.5%, according to the Bespoke Investments. Meanwhile, SVB's fallout will cost the FDIC's Deposit Insurance Fund about $20 billion. That's how serious Silicon Valley Bank fallout is going to actually have to impact the FDIC, the Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation, and the deal sent the bank stocks in rebound mode, with the KBW Nasdaq Bank Index closing over 2.5% higher. And that's it, my friend, from the different markets around the world. Remember to follow us on Twitter and get to comment on the show. You can follow us on YouTube as well. You can go to the comment section and give us some feedback. That would be really, really helpful. And remember also to keep tuned in Smart 24 TV. The show was brought to you by Altex East Africa, and you can buy treasury bonds with Altex at simply the convenience of your phone. Simply dial *292# to experience the magic at Altex. And that's it from me. See you tomorrow. Have a very wonderful day. Bye for now.